Hello, my name is David Finney. I'm a BigFix technical advisor based out of Denver, Colorado. Today I'm going to be talking about a new feature called BigFix Remote Control for unattended sessions. And before we begin, I want to just go ahead and call out some of the contact information there at the bottom. You can see my email, and that QR code will also prompt an email to me. So if any questions come up, don't hesitate. Okay, so about this new feature, you'll see that it's on the 5.18 build. This is a very recent release as of September 2021. And so you'll see the version up there at the top. That is important to make sure that your BigFix server and all the components around it are at that build to enable this feature set. But what this feature specifically does is it allows us to go ahead and actually configure the target to go ahead and pull the remote control broker, which is the enabling portion for doing remote control sessions over the internet for BigFix Remote Control. And it makes it so that the target will pull that broker and see if it's queued for a session. This is set at a rhythm. So like, say for example, I do mine every 2 minutes. I have my target pull the broker just to see if there's a session standing by. Obviously that's configurable to whatever it is that you need in your environment. But it does make it so that you can actually handle most of the initiation of the remote control session over the internet directly at the admin side. There are obviously security settings around this that you can control, if there's any kind of user acceptance or anything else. But for today's demonstration, I'll be showing one where it's not queuing up any type of user acceptance. But it does make it so that essentially, the benefit around it will be that you can go ahead and actually initiate it all from the admin side. And providing that you got the permissions set appropriately, you can start a session over the internet without any user involvement whatsoever. Okay. On this next slide here, I just wanted to show that there is basically 3 modes to kind of configure the remote control target with. And you'll see these options, again, go up to version build 5.18 and you'll see these options. But you have the never option, which is, essentially I don't ever want the target to go ahead and pull the broker. And then you have the always, which means that it doesn't matter what the connection state is, it will always pull the broker. And then you have auto, which typically ties back to unreachable state of the remote control management server. And if so, it'll fail over to actually go ahead and actually pulling the broker. So that's typically probably the most likely one to distribute in an environment. I'd say that, or obviously always, or anything around that. But essentially, this does start off default as a never. So this is definitely something you have to control the configuration with for the targets to enable this session on the target side. Okay, last stop here. This is just an example of the settings area inside the remote control server itself. So when you go up to build 5.18, you'll see these options in the remote control server, kind of mentioning that towards the bottom of the screen there. This is underneath the trc.properties. You'll see the path there on the second bullet. And essentially just need to make sure that that is turned on in order to enable that session and then control some of the session settings. I highlighted the top 3 that I think are the most common ones that we need to make sure get in place to baseline and kind of enable the feature set. So make sure you check that out before attempting this in your environment. Okay, just quick stop here over at the BigFix console. I just wanted to remind everybody where to go ahead and actually do the configuration for the remote control target to enable that feature. So you'll see here from just my BigFix console, I'm just doing the actual remote control target wizard. So to get everything that you would need there, obviously you would need to make sure you get your server URL, get the broker list populated with the appropriate information to connect to the broker, get your certificate in there. And if you look a little bit lower, here is the mode that will enable this feature on the target side. So just make sure to set that along your way so that you could go ahead and get the target doing what it needs to do in order to enable this feature. Okay. So over at my remote control server, this is actually directly at my server level, and I'm just bringing up a web interface. Again, you can bring this up from pretty much anywhere in your environment if you got it set up to be that way. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is, this is the system, and you'll actually notice a little bit of revision to the columns here. We now have this broker column so that we can actually see what they're configured to do. And this one right here is actually the one that I've configured to basically be always ready for a unattended session. So this is going to be constantly polling the environment at a 2-minute rhythm. So pretty fast. May not want to go that fast, kind of depends on each environment, of course. But before I kick off that session, just wanted to mention real quick on the properties file, if you go over to the TRC area and search for unattended is usually the best way to kind of get there. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down one more. So you'll see this is most of the settings here that kind of get the ball rolling. And you can see there's a lot of other settings around it. Again, I kind of focused on these three here. But you do have other options that you can set around it in terms of security, log control, and otherwise. So just so you know, that is absolutely there. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and kick off my unattended target session. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And you'll see it's a typical launcher for the controller software. And as it loads up, it'll connect up to the broker and see who's basically been polling against it. And that'll give us our options of targets here. And so you can see there's endpoint 1 that we're doing for this demonstration. And you can still, refresh, filter, anything else you want to do. But I'm going to go ahead and tell this to connect and start that polling rhythm. So it looks like we caught it at a good rhythm here. This is going to be kicking off in about 15 seconds, so it's coming up pretty quick. And that's just the next time we expect that client to show up based on its last polling rhythm. And so here in just a moment, we should get our session. And okay, here we go. So, and just like that, we connected to the target over the internet, and we're able to work with it. So that is, just kind of a basic functionality set, just to kind of demonstrate how that works. You do still, of course, have all your traditional functionality around it. So I just enabled my scale view to make that a little easier to manage. But yeah, that's basically how the remote control broker unattended sessions work. So that does take place over the internet. All right, well, thank you for joining me today for covering the remote control broker, the unattended sessions. And as always, if there is any questions at all, do not hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to help.
If you enjoyed this video, please click like. If you'd like to be notified when there's updates, please subscribe to the BigFix TA YouTube channel. The link is below.